Silent Hill 3 is the most unsettling game a teenage girl can play. Aside from that real-life version of Mystery Date I created for my closest gal pals, with a phone they could potentially utilize to call a strapping young lad at the police department is real, but they have to crawl through 4 miles of raw sewage and scattered human remains in order to reach it, only to find that the cell phone's battery, much like the dozens of other foolish girls whose attempts at escape had failed, has been dead for years, and also that there isn't enough room in the septic tank for her to turn back the way she came, especially after my bi-weekly taco-fueled Dumplestiltskin. From the veiny purple dick fetuses that slap the protagonist Heather harder in the womb than the tip of my penis once the nitrates kick in, to the cervix-faced Edward Dingus-hand monsters that attack with secret pricks obscured within their foreskin armored arms. And these complete jerk-offs who knock Heather on her back faster than if she thought they had a modicum of money in order to better sniff her queef and can only be distracted by the identical aroma emitted from expired packets of beef jerky. Silent Hill 3 is tailor-made to creep out girls. Heather Mason, aka Cheryl Mason, aka Aletha Gillespie, aka the female version of Lightning from Final Fantasy XIII, has eyes like twin piss holes in the snow, if that snow was composed entirely of grease, was bukkakied at birth by the freckle fairy, as my mother used to say, and dresses like the kind of man-hating lesbian that wouldn't think twice about crushing your nuts in a vice. I'm not saying this cutie pie with kidney failure is a full-blown junkie, but judging from her rat's nest hair that either needs more conditioner or less hobo cum infused into it, and her tendency to pass out face first in her fry basket at the food court, I think it's safe to assume she's been occasionally hitting the pipe. Silent Hill 3 begins where most nightmares for young women begin, with daddy issues. Being that Heather gave birth to herself after sacrificing herself in order to kill a demonic incarnation of herself, I think it's safe to assume she's a little too close to her adoptive father. I mean, just because they didn't share blood doesn't mean they never shared bodily fluids, because Heather is a good egg. From this gigantic uncircumcised purple penis pelvis beater boss that requires a 9mm bris to defeat, to the puzzles involving coat hangers, tongs, and a Plan B pill, Silent Hill 3's theme of pregnancy is palpable. Heather has repressed the memories of her horrific past and the atrocities she experienced in a hellish landscape, much like my own daughter, but as she creeps closer towards Silent Hill and its churches with more bodily fluids slathered on the walls than the interior of Zoe Quinn's Quim, the symbolism of puberty and pregnancy explodes. Between the bathtub fuller with blood than that time I mistook a discarded tampon for a scabby loofah and felt so foolish that my face turned red. And this puzzle that requires you to drop Heather on a mattress like Bill Cosby after the sugar rush of the pudding wears off and the numb oblivion of the Zypiclone kicks in, you may begin to wonder what Heather's occasional stomach cramps are really all about. All I know is that it wasn't me. I don't care what that pregnancy test says, Heather. Just because you piss on something doesn't make it true. I'll piss myself all the time, and I'm the lyingest motherfucker on the oif. Opposing Heather on her quest to stab herself in the twat with a cork remover is Claudia Wolf, a barren bitch who should have taken her namesake advice and wolfed down some cum so that she wouldn't have become so lonely and desperate to have a baby that she ignores the 5-second rule and gobbles a fetus off the floor like an especially rabid George Soros after a 3-day blood of unbaptized children and powdered endochrome only fast. Aside from the fact that every time she does the splits, she fills the room with rancid egg salad sandwich vapors from her rotting ovaries, Claudia comes off as a tragic figure. Though she imagined herself to be close friends with Heather's past incarnation Aletha, girls never really like each other on a deeper level, since they are basically animals that are incapable of higher functions, and her friendship is ultimately rebuked. Her father Leonard, who crawls around in liquid shit juice as if he's trying to escape my alleged secret basement, that the government doesn't have a single shred of evidence of, following that mysterious fire, either suffers from end-stage syphilis or is just a Rothschild whose human disguise generator has malfunctioned. He apparently beat his daughter almost as much as she deserves for acting like a Jehovah's Witness, and after Vincent calls out her female god feminist utopian bullshit, she reacts like a typical feminist and stabs him in the back while he isn't looking. Gameplay-wise, Silent Hill 3 is just as competent as the games that preceded it, though Heather is equipped with the completely wrong type of mace to defend herself against the legions of not-wielding dogs wrapped in butcher's paper after escaping from the local Chinese buffet, naked feminists infuriated by Hillary's latest tumble down some steps, annoyingly loud sword-headed bumblefuck bees that scared my dog out of the room every time they appeared, twitchy-ass nurses with amazing heaving breasts. I want a nurse from them. Well, let's not beat a dead horse with this joke. Despite the odds, with the help of Douglas and his private dick, Heather is able to make it through, and though she has to traverse this glorified 9-inch nails music video while stepping over the discarded corpses of degenerate furries, encounters so many rusted shut locks that the most powerful item in the game should be a can of WD-40, passing through the scariest subway that doesn't involve Jared Fogle and his special vintage sandwich that involves 30-year-old meat that comes between 16-year-old buns, and occasionally getting dragged away cunt first by Vatiel to the interracial breeding grounds. By the time she jumps down Brianna Wu's booty hole and slaps around a bony-ass god who needs to spend less time biting Heather's tits and more time biting some sandwiches, an amazing journey has taken place. Overall, though you don't reach Silent Hill until the final act of the game, which has happened more and more after the series has progressed beyond its natural shelf life, 3 tied up all the loose ends of the original game and probably should have ended the franchise. The next Silent Hill would serve as the last to involve any developers from the original games other than the brilliant musician Akira Yamaoka, and after that, the returns diminished until none of that original magic remained.